5 years later, Dr. Han Sol Kim stood in the largest conference room on Earth. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy sat around a massive table. They had all come to sign the Kim Accords, the new galactic treaty that would protect medical personnel forever. Han Sol looked different now. His hair was gray at the temples and his face showed lines that hadn't been there before. He wore a simple black suit instead of medical whites. The gentle doctor who had saved lives was gone. In his place was the man who had become the galaxy's most feared protector. The terms are simple, Han Sol said to the assembled aliens. Any attack on medical personnel, medical ships, or medical facilities results in immediate biological warfare against the attacking species. No warnings, no negotiations, no mercy. Ambassador Veltar of the Zentari Federation raised one of his forearms. Dr. Kim, surely there must be exceptions for accidents or misunderstandings. No, Han Sol replied coldly. The Vorthak thought attacking the Mercy's light was acceptable. They're extinct now. That's what happens when you misunderstand. The Elkoran representative, a tall blue being named Kristhun, spoke next. Doctor, what about species that are being controlled by others? What if they have no choice? Then their controllers should have thought about that before forcing them to attack healers, Han Sol answered. The biological weapons don't care about politics or excuses. They only care about results. Admiral Kyung-ho Bae sat beside Han Sol, now promoted to head of the Federation's new medical security division. The Kim Accords will be enforced by humanity, he announced. We have biological agents prepared for every known species. Attack our medical personnel and your species ends. A nervous silence filled the room. Everyone remembered what had happened to the Vorthak. Entire star systems that once bustled with life were now empty graveyards. Billions of beings had died because their leaders made one terrible decision. We have prepared a demonstration, Han Sol said. A holographic display showed a small asteroid in space. This rock has been seeded with a sample population of Vorthak bacteria we kept for research purposes. The aliens watched as Han Sol activated a biological agent remotely. Within minutes, the bacteria began dying. The entire population was extinct in less than an hour. This is what efficiency looks like, Han Sol explained. Fast, complete, irreversible. Every species represented here has a similar agent waiting in storage. I suggest you sign the accords. One by one, every alien representative signed the treaty. They had no choice. Refusing meant risking the extinction of their entire species. Some signed with shaking hands. Others wept as they wrote their names. All of them were terrified. After the ceremony, Han Sol walked through the halls of Federation headquarters. Portraits of famous human leaders lined the walls, but now his picture hung among them. The plaque beneath read, Dr. Han Sol Kim, Protector of Galactic Medicine. Dr. Minho Ryu was waiting in Han Sol's office. He had been Han Sol's student years ago before the hospital ship attack. Now he was one of the few people brave enough to challenge his former teacher. Professor, Minho said formally, I need to ask you something. What is it? Han Sol sat behind his desk, which was covered with reports from medical ships across the galaxy. Every ship now carried samples of his biological weapons just in case. Do you ever think about what you've become? Han Sol looked at his student with mild interest. I think about results. Medical personnel can now work anywhere in the galaxy without fear. Hospital ships travel through war zones untouched. Refugee camps receive aid without interference. These are good results, but at what cost? Minho pressed. The entire galaxy lives in terror of humanity. They don't respect us anymore, they're just afraid of being exterminated. Fear is more reliable than respect, Han Sol replied. Respect can be lost. Fear is permanent. Minho pulled up news reports on his tablet. Look at this. The Thalorian Empire just ended a war because they were afraid their enemy might ask for human medical aid. The Crystalline Confederation won't even allow their military near human colonies. Entire species are changing their behavior because they're terrified of you. Good, Han Sol said simply. That means the system is working. This isn't what Mirai would have wanted. For the first time, Han Sol's expression changed. A flicker of the old man appeared in his eyes, then vanished. Mirai is dead because the galaxy thought healers were weak. Now they know better. Minho tried a different approach. Your nanobots could heal injuries we can't even imagine. Your medical research could revolutionize healthcare for every species. Why waste your genius on weapons? I'm not wasting anything, Han Sol answered. I'm using my knowledge to protect those who heal. Every biological weapon I create saves medical lives in the future. That evening, Hansol visited the memorial park, where the Mercy's Light crew was honored. 800 names were carved into black stone, including Mireille Park and Tae-Ho Lee. He brought flowers as he did every month. I kept my promise, he said quietly, to Mireille's name. No one attacks medical ships anymore. Your death meant something. But as he stood there, Hansol wondered if Mireille would recognize the man he had become. The gentle doctor who had loved saving lives was gone. In his place was someone who protected healers by threatening to kill entire species. A young medical student approached him nervously. Dr. Kim, I'm sorry to bother you, sir. I just wanted to say thank you. For what? My mother is a field medic with the 7th Medical Corps. She's working in the Outer Rim territories right now, treating casualties from the border conflicts. She says she feels completely safe because everyone knows what happens to species that hurt medical personnel. Hansol nodded. Your mother is doing important work. She is, sir. And she can do it safely because of what you created. The student paused. I know some people say terrible things about you, but medical personnel across the galaxy sleep peacefully because of your protection. After the student left, Hansol remained at the memorial. The galaxy was indeed safer for healers, but at a price he hadn't fully understood when he began. Humanity was no longer seen as the species that healed and helped. They were the species that could end any other species with a single decision. I wonder what you would think of me now, he said to the stone bearing Mireille's name. I saved the healers, but I think I lost my soul doing it. The wind carried his words away into the night. Somewhere in the galaxy, medical ships traveled safely through space, protected by the fear of Hansol's weapons. Doctors treated patients without worrying about being attacked. Nurses worked in war zones knowing they were untouchable. Hansol had achieved his goal. Medical personnel were safe. But the cost was that he had become something that would have horrified the man he used to be. The gentle healer was dead, replaced by the galaxy's most effective killer. As he walked away from the memorial, Hansol knew he would make the same choices again. The galaxy needed to fear humanity's medical corps, because fear kept the healers alive, even if it had killed everything good about the man who protected them. 3 months after the attack, Hansol sat in his laboratory on Earth. The room was dark except for the blue glow of computer screens. He hadn't slept properly in weeks. Dark circles surrounded his eyes and his hands shook slightly as he worked. Hansol, you need to eat something, said Dr. So-Young Choi, entering the lab with a tray of food. She had been his colleague for 10 years and had never seen him like this. When was the last time you had a real meal? Hansol didn't look up from his microscope. Food isn't important right now. So-Young set the tray down and looked at what he was studying. Strange alien tissue samples floated in glass containers. Computer displays showed complex biological data. What is all this? I thought you were taking time off to recover. I am recovering, Hansol said quietly. I'm recovering my purpose. The official investigation into the Mercy's Light attack had been a joke. The Federation filed complaints with the Galactic Council. Diplomats made angry speeches. Everyone agreed that attacking a medical ship was terrible. But nobody did anything real about it. The Vorthak Empire didn't even apologize. Hansol's friend Dr. Jaemin Yoon knocked on the lab door. Hansol, there's someone here to see you. A young woman entered the lab. Dr. Kim? I'm Dr. Hai Jin Nam. I was on the Mercy's Light with you. I survived in Escape Pod 15. Hansol finally looked up. He remembered her. She had been working in the pediatric ward when the attack happened. What do you want? I want to help, she said simply. I've been assigned as your new research assistant. They said you were working on something important. Important? Hansol laughed, but there was no humor in it. Yes, it's very important. I'm making sure the Vorthak never murder medical personnel again. Jin looked at the tissue samples. Are these Vorthak biological specimens? Yes, I've been studying their physiology for months. Do you know how different they are from humans? From most other species? Hansol pulled up a holographic display showing Vorthak anatomy. Their respiratory system is completely unique. They process oxygen through specialized organs that no other species has. So-Young frowned. Hansol, what are you planning? I'm planning to end this, he said calmly. The Vorthak think medical knowledge makes us weak. They think healers are easy targets. I'm going to show them how wrong they are. Over the next few weeks, Hansol worked 18 hours a day. He studied every aspect of Vorthak biology, their blood chemistry, their nervous system, their digestive process. He learned things about their species that even the Vorthak didn't know about themselves. "Doctor, this research is getting concerning," Hyejin said one evening. She had been watching him work for 2 weeks and didn't like what she saw. "These aren't medical studies. You're looking for weaknesses." "Of course I am," Han Sol replied without emotion. "I'm a doctor. I know exactly how bodies work. I know how to heal them." He paused and looked at her with cold eyes. "And I know how to break them." Jaemin visited the lab late one night. "Han Sol, people are worried about you. You haven't left this place in days. This isn't healthy." "Healthy?" Han Sol turned around in his chair. "Do you know what's not healthy? Being murdered while trying to save lives. Mireille was healthy until she was sucked out into space. Taeho was healthy until missiles tore him apart." "I know you're angry." "I'm not angry," Han Sol interrupted. "Anger is an emotion. This is calculation. I'm solving a problem using the scientific method." On his computer screen was a complex molecular structure. It looked like a medicine, but Jaemin knew better. "What is that?" "A virus," Han Sol said matter-of-factly. "Specifically designed to target Vorthak respiratory organs. It will cause their breathing systems to shut down slowly. Very painful. Very fatal, and it only affects Vorthak biology." Jaemin stared at his friend in horror. "Han Sol, you can't be serious. You're talking about biological warfare, about genocide." "I'm talking about justice," Han Sol corrected. "The Vorthak want to kill healers? Fine. But they should understand what happens when you attack someone who knows exactly how your body works." So Young tried to reason with him. "This isn't what Mireille would have wanted. She believed in helping people, not hurting them." Han Sol's hand stopped moving on the keyboard. For a moment his expression softened. "Mireille is dead. Taeho is dead. 800 good people are dead because the galaxy thinks medical ships are easy targets." His voice became hard again. "I'm making sure that never happens again." "By becoming a mass murderer?" So Young asked. "By becoming a deterrent," Han Sol replied. "When I'm done, no one will ever attack a medical ship again. They'll be too afraid of what humanity might do in response." Hyejin tried a different approach. "Doctor, your healing nanobots could help millions of people. Why waste your genius on weapons?" Han Sol laughed bitterly. "My healing nanobots couldn't save Mireille. They couldn't save any of my friends. But these weapons? These will save every future medical worker who doesn't die because aliens are too scared to attack them." The virus was just the beginning. Over the following months, Han Sol created a collection of biological weapons that would have impressed military researchers. Each one was precisely targeted at Vorthak physiology. Some attacked their nervous system, causing paralysis and madness. Others destroyed their blood cells, leading to slow internal bleeding. The worst ones turned their own immune system against them. "You know what the beautiful part is?" Han Sol said to Hyejin one day. "I'm using the same knowledge that made me a great healer. Understanding biology, knowing how bodies work, seeing the connections between different systems. The only difference is the goal." "This isn't you," Hyejin said desperately. "The Han Sol I knew on the Mercy's Light would never do this." "That Han Sol died with his ship," he replied. "I'm what's left." Federal intelligence contacted him after 6 months. Agent Yoonji Seo visited his lab with Admiral Kyung-ho Bae. They had heard rumors about his work. "Dr. Kim," Admiral Bae said, "we understand you've been working on some interesting projects. Projects that might be useful to the war effort." "I'm not working for the military," Han Sol said. "We're not asking you to," Agent Seo replied. "We're asking you to work for the protection of medical personnel. Think of it as expanding your research." Han Sol considered this. The Federation military had resources he needed. Better laboratories, more Vorthak biological samples, and most importantly, ways to deliver his creations to enemy territory. "What exactly are you proposing?" he asked. "Help us end the Vorthak threat permanently," Admiral Bae said. "In return, we'll make sure no one ever attacks a human medical ship again." Han Sol looked at his computer screens filled with deadly designs. At the tissue samples that had taught him how to kill an entire species, at the formulas that could end the Vorthak Empire forever. "When do we start?" he asked. Hyejin watched him shake hands with the military officials and felt sick. The gentle doctor who had saved her life was gone. In his place was something cold and terrible. Something that understood exactly how to heal and exactly how to kill. Something that would change the galaxy forever. The first Vorthak world went silent on a Tuesday. Han Sol watched the reports from his new laboratory deep inside Federation Military Command. The planet SciFiPrime had stopped all communications exactly 72 hours after his viral agents were deployed. No distress calls, no military transmissions, nothing. Satellite surveillance confirms total population collapse, reported Agent Yoonji Seo, reading from her tablet. No movement in any major cities. No energy signatures from military installations. The planet appears to be completely dead. Admiral Kyung-ho Bae nodded grimly. How many Vorthak lived there? 2 billion, Han Sol answered without emotion. He was studying biological data on his computer screens. The virus worked exactly as designed. It targeted their specialized respiratory organs and spread through their air recycling systems. Very efficient. Jesus, whispered Dr. Hyejin Nam. She had stayed with Han Sol despite her horror at what he was doing. Someone needed to witness this, she thought. Someone needed to remember what he had become. The other worlds will know something is wrong soon, Admiral Bae said. What's our timeline for the next deployment? Han Sol pulled up a star map showing Vorthak territory. Red dots mark their major worlds. Phase 2 begins tomorrow. 12 more planets will receive different biological agents. Some fast-acting, some slow. We want to create panic and confusion. The second wave was worse than the first. Han Sol had created variations of his weapons, each one designed for maximum psychological impact. Some Vorthak worlds died quickly from respiratory failure. Others suffered for weeks as their nervous system slowly shut down. The worst planets experienced both. Different. Viruses attacking different organ systems at the same time. Vorthak High Command is sending ships to investigate the dead worlds, reported Intelligence Officer Jin Woo Park. They're finding empty cities, ships floating dead in space, and no signs of what killed everyone. Good, Han Sol said. Fear is spreading faster than the viruses. That's the point. Hyejin couldn't stay quiet anymore. Han Sol, these aren't just soldiers dying. There are civilians on those planets, children. Han Sol finally looked at her. His eyes were completely cold. Did the Vorthak care about civilian children when they destroyed the Mercy's light? Did they care about the refugee children we were treating? That doesn't make this right. Right and wrong are luxury concepts, Han Sol replied. I'm dealing with results. The results say that 800 good people are dead because the galaxy thinks healers are weak. I'm teaching them otherwise. The third wave targeted the Vorthak military directly. Han Sol had developed aerosol agents that could be deployed on battlefields. When Vorthak soldiers breathed them in, their immune systems turned against their own bodies. Entire fleets died in space, their crews killed by their own biology. We're getting reports from across Vorthak space, Agent Seo said during their weekly briefing. 17 worlds are now completely silent. Military resistance has collapsed in 3 entire sectors. Their surviving forces are refusing to leave their ships. Smart of them, Han Sol commented. Too bad it won't help. He had designed the latest viruses to survive in vacuum. Vorthak ships were becoming death traps as the agents spread through their air systems. Even their spacesuits couldn't protect them. The viruses could penetrate most standard filters. War Commander Thexmore, the leader who had destroyed the Mercy's light, lasted longer than most. His flagship tried to flee to the edge of Vorthak space, but Han Sol had predicted that. Special long-range missiles carried viral payloads across the galaxy. Thexmore's ship was found drifting near a distant star, its entire crew dead. The irony is perfect, Han Sol told Hyejin as they reviewed the report. He died the same way Mireille did. Alone in space, unable to breathe. You've become a monster, she whispered. I've become effective, he corrected. When was the last time any alien species attacked a human medical ship? She couldn't answer because he was right. Word of the Vorthak extinction had spread across the galaxy. The mysterious biological weapons that could kill an entire species in months had terrified everyone. No one knew how the Federation had done it, but everyone suspected it was connected to the hospital ship attack. Phase 4 is ready for deployment, Han Sol announced during a military briefing. But I don't think we'll need it. Admiral Bae looked at the tactical displays. The Vorthak Empire, which had controlled hundreds of worlds just 6 months ago, was now empty space. All their planets? All of them, Han Sol confirmed. Total extinction of the species. The biological agents were designed to target their unique physiology. No other species can be affected. What about their slave populations? Asked Agent Seo. Freed, Han Sol said. The viruses only killed Vorthak. Everyone else survived. They're probably celebrating right now. But Han Sol wasn't finished. Working with Admiral Bay and Agent SEO, he began developing a much larger project. Not just weapons against one species, but a complete biological warfare system that could target any species that threatened medical personnel. We're calling it the Hippocratic Protocols, Admiral Bay explained to the Federation Council, a defensive system designed to protect medical ships and personnel. Han Sol stood before the council, looking like a respectable doctor in his clean white coat. The system works like this. Any species that attacks medical personnel gets added to the database. We then develop targeted biological agents specific to their physiology. The threat of extinction keeps everyone peaceful. Ambassador Yujin An stood up in horror. You're talking about holding the entire galaxy hostage with biological weapons. I'm talking about preventing future tragedies, Han Sol replied calmly. The Vorthak attack happened because they thought healers were easy targets. Now everyone knows better. But this is genocide as a policy tool, Ambassador An protested. This is deterrence, Han Sol corrected. As long as medical ships are safe, no one dies. But the moment someone attacks a hospital ship or medical personnel, their entire species becomes extinct. Very simple rules. The Council voted to approve the Hippocratic Protocols by a narrow margin, not because they liked the idea, but because the results spoke for themselves. Attacks on medical ships had dropped to zero. Medical personnel could now work in the most dangerous war zones without fear. You realize what you've done? He-Jin asked Han Sol after the vote. You've turned humanity into the galaxy's executioners. Han Sol looked out at the stars through his office window. Somewhere out there, billions of aliens were going about their daily lives, never knowing how close they were to extinction. One wrong decision by their leaders. One attack on a human medical ship, and Han Sol's weapons would end their entire species. Good, he said quietly. Let them be afraid. Fear will keep them civilized. The galaxy had learned to respect human medical ships, but the cost was that everyone now lived in terror of humanity's most brilliant healer, who had become their most effective killer. The first sign of trouble came from the sensor station. Captain, I'm picking up large ships jumping into the system, called out Sensor Officer Kyung-Min Lee. His voice was steady, but Han Sol could hear worry underneath. 20 vessels, military class. They're not broadcasting identification. Captain Won-Sik Park frowned at his displays. Configuration? Vorthak design, Kyung-Min answered. War cruisers and destroyers. They're moving fast toward our position. Han Sol felt his stomach drop. The Vorthak Empire was known for being brutal, but they had never attacked a medical ship before. No one in the galaxy was that crazy. Are they responding to our medical broadcasts? Negative, said the communication officer. They're not answering any calls. But Doctor, they can see our medical markings. Every ship in space can read our signals. Dr. Mireille Park moved to Han Sol's side. Maybe they're just passing through? The Vorthak have been moving a lot of ships lately. I don't think so, Captain Park said quietly. They're changing course to intercept us. Whatever they want, it involves our ship. Han Sol activated the ship-wide communication system. All personnel, this is Dr. Kim. We have Vorthak ships approaching. This is probably just a routine inspection. Stay calm and continue your work. Remember, we are protected under galactic law. Down in the medical bays, the crew was treating their first batch of refugees. Children with broken bones, adults with infected wounds, elderly aliens who hadn't eaten in days. The universal nanobots were working perfectly, healing injuries that would have taken weeks to fix. Dr. Kim to the bridge, came Taeho's voice over the intercom. We need you here. When Han Sol arrived, the Vorthak fleet was visible on the main screen. 20 dark ships with sharp edges and weapon ports. They looked like metal sharks swimming through space. At the front was a massive cruiser twice the size of the Mercies. Light, they're hailing us, reported the communication officer. Put it on screen, Captain Park. Ordered. The display flickered and showed a Vorthak commander. War Commander Thexmore was a typical member of his species, 7 feet tall with gray skin, forearms, and cold black eyes. Scars covered his face from old battles. He wore the dark uniform of the Vorthak military. Human medical ship, Thexmore said in heavily accented standard. You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Captain Park stepped forward. War Commander, I am Captain Park of the Federation hospital ship Mercy's Light. We are operating under the protection of the Galactic Geneva Conventions. Our mission is humanitarian aid only. Thexmore's face showed no emotion. Your species spreads weakness across the galaxy. You heal our enemies so they can fight us again. You make war take longer by keeping soldiers alive. Sir, we treat all injured beings equally, Hansol said, moving into view of the camera. We've treated Vorthak soldiers when they needed help. Medical care is not political. Wrong, Thexmore replied. Everything is political. Your ship makes our enemies stronger. It gives them hope. Hope is dangerous. Mireille stepped up beside Hansol. Commander, there are children on this ship. Refugee children from multiple species. Surely you won't harm children. For a moment, something flickered in Thexmore's eyes. Then it was gone. Weak species produce weak children. The galaxy is better without them. The communication ended. The screen went dark. Red alert, Captain Park ordered immediately. All hands to emergency stations. Begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel. Captain, they can't attack us, said the communication officer. It's against every law in space. Every species will turn against them. The Vorthak don't care about laws, Captain Park replied grimly. And they're already at war with half the galaxy. Hansol ran to the medical bay where his teams were still working. Everyone, we need to prepare for possible evacuation. Move the most critical patients to the escape pods first. Doctor, what's happening? Asked Dr. Hijin Nam. She was holding a small Elkoran child whose leg had been badly broken. The Vorthak fleet is threatening us. It's probably just intimidation, but we need to be ready. Suddenly, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Over the intercom, Captain Park's voice was urgent. All hands, brace for impact. Incoming missiles. Hansol couldn't believe it. No one attacked medical ships. It was the most basic rule of civilized warfare. But the Vorthak weapons were already on their way. The first missile hit the rear of the ship. The Mercy's light shook like it was being torn apart. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, sealing off damaged sections. The lights flickered and went to emergency power. Medical Bay 7 is gone, reported someone over the intercom. Sections 12 through 15 are venting atmosphere. More missiles struck. Each impact sent shockwaves through the massive ship. Hansol grabbed the wounded Elkoran child and ran toward the escape pods. Around him, medical staff were doing the same with their patients. Mireille was helping an elderly Zentari woman when the next wave of missiles hit. The medical bay's hull cracked open like an egg. Atmosphere rushed out into space, pulling everything with it. Medical equipment, supplies, and people were sucked toward the breach. Mireille! Hansol screamed. He watched his best friend lose her grip on a support beam. The Zentari woman was already gone, pulled out into the vacuum. Mireille looked at Hansol one last time before she too was swept away. Hansol tried to reach her, but the artificial gravity failed. He slammed into a wall, still holding the alien child. His ribs cracked, but he didn't let go. Emergency doors finally sealed the breach, but it was too late. Mireille was gone. Throughout the ship, similar scenes were playing out. Chief Medical Officer Taeho Lee was in pediatric ward when missiles tore through that section. Hansol heard him over the intercom, his voice calm even as he died. Evacuation Pod 7 is launching with 15 children aboard. Tell their families they're safe. Then his signal went dead. The Vorthak ships kept firing. They weren't trying to capture the Mercy's light. They were trying to destroy it completely. Every missile was aimed at the medical sections where the most people would be hurt. Hull breach on Deck 9, someone reported. Sickbay 4 is gone. Medical storage areas 6 and 7 are open to space. Hansol made it to an escape pod with 12 survivors, including the Elkoran child. As their small ship ejected from the dying hospital ship, he looked back through the porthole. The Mercy's light was breaking apart. White hull pieces drifted away like snow. Bodies floated between the wreckage. Doctors, nurses, patients, refugees. All of them dead because they had tried to help people. The Vorthak fleet didn't even slow down. They flew past the wreckage, broadcasting on all frequencies. This is what happens to those who heal our enemies. Let this be a lesson to all medical ships. There is no safety in weakness. Of the 800 people aboard the Mercy's light, only 47 survived. Hansol floated in the escape pod, holding the injured alien child, watching the bodies of his friends drift in the cold vacuum of space. Mireille's face was peaceful, as if she was sleeping. Taeho's body still wore his medical uniform with its bright red cross. Something inside Hansol broke that day, something that would never heal. Dr. Hansol Kim stood on the bridge of the hospital ship Mercy's light, watching the stars drift past the massive viewport. The ship was huge, almost 3 kilometers long, painted pure white with red medical crosses covering its hull. Every surface screamed that this was a place of healing, not war. "Doctor, we're getting close to the Kepler system," said Captain Wansik Park from his chair. The old spacer had been flying medical ships for 20 years. He knew how to keep them safe in dangerous space. "The situation down there is getting worse every day." Hansol nodded slowly. He was a tall man with gentle eyes and steady hands. Those hands had saved thousands of lives over the years. Today he hoped to save thousands more.
"How many refugees are we expecting?"
"At least 10,000, answered Dr. Mireille Park, walking up behind them. She was Hansol's closest friend and the best alien doctor in the Federation. Her specialty was treating species that humans had never seen before, maybe more. The fighting between the Federation and the Vorthak Empire is pushing everyone out of their homes. The Vorthak were bad news. They conquered planets and enslaved anyone who survived. They didn't care about civilians, children, or the old and sick. To them, anyone who wasn't Vorthak was just meat to be used or thrown away. "The good news is that both sides have agreed to let us work," said Chief Medical Officer Tae-Ho Lee, joining the group. He was a short man with a big smile who could make anyone feel better. "The Galactic Geneva Conventions are holding. No one attacks medical ships." Hansol felt good about that. The laws of space were clear. Hospital ships like Mercy's Light were protected. They could go anywhere and help anyone without fear. It was one of the few things that all species agreed on. Even the worst enemies would let medical ships pass safely. "What's our supply situation?" Hansol asked. "We're carrying enough medicine for 50,000 patients," said Dr. So-Young Choi over the communication system. She was down in the main medical bay checking their equipment. "Plus food, water, and basic supplies for refugee camps. And doctor, your new healing machines are working perfectly." Hansol smiled. He had spent 5 years developing those machines. They were called Universal Medical Nanobots, and they could heal almost any injury on any species. The tiny robots could fix broken bones, repair organs, and even regrow lost limbs. They worked on humans, aliens, and everything in between. "Good," he said. "We're going to need every advantage we can get." The Mercy's Light carried 800 of the best medical people in the galaxy. Doctors, nurses, surgeons, and support staff from dozens of different species. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing the dangers, but they also knew how much good they could do. Dr. Kim called engineer Jaemin Yoon from his station. "We're picking up distress signals from 3 different planets. Human colonies, Zentari refugee camps, and something that might be Elkoran survivors." The Elkorans were a peaceful species that looked like tall blue trees. They had been one of the first to be attacked by the Vorthak. Most of their people were dead or enslaved. "Finding survivors would be amazing. Send messages to all of them," Hansol ordered. "Tell them help is coming. We'll start with whoever needs us most." Mireille pulled up a holographic display showing the system. Red dots marked areas of fighting. Yellow dots showed refugee camps. Green dots were safe zones, but there weren't many of those. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a small moon orbiting the 4th planet. "Thousands of mixed refugees. Humans, Zentari, Elkorans, even some Kythera. They're all living together in caves with no medical care. The Kythera were interesting aliens that looked like giant butterflies made of crystal. They were usually very proud and didn't mix with other species. If they were hiding in caves with everyone else, things must be really bad." "That's our first stop," Hansol decided. "How long until we arrive?" 6 hours, answered Captain Park. "I'll take us in slow and careful. Don't want to scare anyone or attract the wrong attention." Hansol walked through the ship's corridors, checking on his teams. The medical bays were huge spaces filled with the most advanced equipment in the galaxy. Operating rooms that could handle surgery on any known species. Recovery wards with beds that adjusted to any body type. Laboratories that could create custom medicines in minutes. In the pediatric ward, Dr. Hee-Jin Nam was preparing special equipment for alien children. "The Zentari young ones need a different kind of anesthesia," she explained. "And Elkoran children regenerate so fast that we have to be careful not to overtreat them." "What about human children?" Hansol asked. "We're ready for anything," she said with confidence. "Your nanobots make everything easier. A broken bone that used to take weeks to heal now takes hours." Hansol continued his tour, stopping by the supply bays. Mountains of food, medicine, and basic equipment filled room after room. They had brought everything they could think of. Water purification systems, portable shelters, communication devices, and enough medical supplies to treat a small war. Doctor, called Dr. Yu-Jin An from the psychology department. I've been reviewing reports from the refugee camps. These people have seen terrible things. Many of them will need mental health care as much as physical treatment. We're ready for that too, Hansol replied. How many counselors do we have? 43, including specialists in alien psychology. We can help anyone who needs it. As they approached the Kepler system, Hansol felt proud of what they were doing. This was what humans were good at. Not fighting or conquering, but healing and helping. The Mercy's light represented the best of humanity. They came in peace, asking nothing in return except the chance to save lives. All medical teams prepare for arrival, announced Tae-ho over the ship's communication system. Remember, we treat everyone equally. Human alien doesn't matter. If they're hurt, we help them. Hansol returned to the bridge and watched as the Kepler system grew larger on the screens. Somewhere down there, thousands of people were waiting for help. Mothers with sick children, wounded soldiers from both sides of the war, elderly refugees who had lost everything. Broadcasting our medical status on all frequencies, reported the communication officer. Everyone in the system knows we're here to help. The Mercy's light moved through space like a beacon of hope. Its white hull gleamed in the light of the system's star. Medical symbols covered every surface, announcing to the galaxy that this ship carried healers, not fighters. Hansol had no idea that this mission would change everything. He didn't know that within days his gentle nature would be tested in ways he couldn't imagine. He couldn't see the Vorthak war fleet moving through hyperspace heading straight for them. All he knew was that people needed help, and he was here to give it.